Fandom Premium. I'm your host Nina.
And I'm Kaylee.
And we are back to discuss Itaewon Class. We're going to be talking about Season 1, Episodes 7 and 8. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking if we should move that away from the mic. Can you move that just in case? Like, I never know what's going to interfere with, like, the way the mic sounds and if it's, you know, it's weird. I discovered the hard way that my cell phone messes with it one day after recording like a 2-hour podcast with my phone next to it, and then I listened to the podcast and it sounded like shit and there was nothing I could do. So I don't want that to happen again. Anyway, we're finally back to talk about Itaewon Class. It's been a minute. I just looked over my notes for these 2 episodes and so much shit happened and it made me desperate to watch the next episodes, to be honest. And I just warned Kaylee that we're about to start marathon watching recording over the next couple of weeks because we're going out of town. Mm-hmm. The whole family, our first family trip. No, not really.
Not really.
It's our first family trip on a plane. Like the first time all 4 of us on a plane together.
Yeah, because we
it'll be Jack's first time on a plane, period.
And we drove across the country together.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Much longer trip. But yeah, we're going to Georgia at the beginning of November to see my parents, all of my parents.
Your birth parents
and my stepmother and my birth parents, yes. My parents.
All 3.
All of them. All 3 of them. So anyway, I'm anxious to like really get into watching this and woo with you guys and recording. Our dog just appeared. No word yet on if he's going to be an asshole.
I don't think so. I think he just wanted to sit up here because he heard you talking. He wants to sit next to you.
Whatever. What did you think of these 2 episodes? Do you even remember what happened in these episodes?
You're
an asshole. See how she is? You see how she is?
Listen! Okay,
I'm listening.
I remember the thing with the black guy.
Yes.
And then when they went to that club, and they're
Toni.
like, sorry, no foreigners allowed. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what?
It was worse than that. It was like no black foreigners.
Yes, it was like specific foreigners, yeah. I was like,
it was like them and Middle East. There was like no brown people.
I was like, that's weird. I remember that. I don't remember much of anything else.
Alright, well, let's just talk about it to refresh her memory.
But when I say I remember that, I mean I remember that entire like plot line. Like,
yeah. But you don't remember all the other stuff. Yeah. Alright, well, this will be fun because you'll be like, oh, that's right, that happened. Okay. So the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that the last episode, 6, ended with Jang showing up at Dambe. That's not the word. That's smoking. Bum. Because it's night. Duh. He shows up at Bum and he has Usoa with him. Osua. And his son. Yes. And one thing we have not talked about on the podcast, I don't think, and then like every time we watch it, I'm like, oh, I gotta bring this up on the podcast, is the fact that his son, the one we don't like, Gunwoo, dresses like a fucking Batman villain.
Yeah, because the first time I noticed it is when he was wearing like a green and purple suit, and I'm like, that's giving Joker vibes.
Why?
Like, why is he dressed like
He dressed like Steve Harvey on fucking Family Feud.
And ever since he's been wearing like really colorful suits.
He dresses like All Might. I could go all day.
And like sometimes it'll be in a normal color, but then like the pattern on it will be weird.
He'll be wearing like 2 different stripes and going 2 different directions, patterns, and I'm like, why does he look like he's about to like threaten Gotham? I don't know why he refuses to just wear normal clothes. But yeah, so he shows up at the restaurant and he wants, he says, give me your best dish. Just serve me like whatever the best is that you have. So they start treating this, you know, like he's a real customer. There's an interesting moment where he says to Gunsu, his other son, the younger son, you don't belong here. And I like that he asks him, well, where do I belong?
Because it's certainly not with you.
Right? Y'all treat me like shit. So while he's there, the fact that he bought the stock comes up. He asks Saeroyi about buying that stock. And you can see that this is the first time that the son is hearing it. The asshole son. And he points out that I bought that stock 8 years ago when your company, when it was, you were going through some shit and it dipped, which is the smart thing to do.
Scandal.
Yes. And I don't remember if we brought this up, but that was it. He brought it when, and we saw this too, like after he had gotten out, there was on the news that Gunwoo had gotten in trouble for something and it caused his father's stock to dip. And we saw Saeroyi acknowledging that on the news, but we didn't know at the time that he went and bought a bunch of stock. So he was like, all right, but what about now? What about the stock you bought yesterday? What about today? You bought $600 million, 600 million won worth of the stock. Okay, so it's a contentious meeting. He eats the food. He doesn't say anything about it. Although I do feel like I remember him making a comment like, I've tasted your food and now I know we really have nothing to worry about type thing. But he makes this comment about tigers don't roar. Like, basically trying to say, like, if you have to be loud with your authority, you really don't have any authority. Like, the king doesn't have to keep reminding people he's the king, that type of thing. But that sent Saeroyi to Google because he didn't.
I thought he meant something else by that.
It's like tigers don't roar. Like, you don't.
Have you heard that
see it
before?
coming. No, but it's.
I thought it was like a. He said something like they don't roar, they just attack.
Yeah, like you don't see it coming.
So you won't see it.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I don't know. What you said sounded different.
It's the same sentiment.
Okay.
Either way, he didn't know what it meant because it sent him to Google.
And it was wrong.
Yeah.
They do.
Yisa was like, that's not what he meant. Give me your phone, stupid. I was like, why does she love his silly self? All right, so then Hojin, who is the kid that he saved from being bullied back in the day that started all this, who's now his like investor. No, his financial advisor. Right. Okay. He texts him to come by. And we see in the flashback that he visited him in prison. And at first they didn't get along. Remember, he was like, I find you obnoxious.
Yeah.
But he wanted to know, like, why he did what he did. And they are both really honest. And it just basically comes out that he wants revenge when he gets out. And Hojin is like, I'll help you. Mm-hmm. So then we see that they met with Kang. And they were trying to get her on their side before. And she came up with the stipulation that if you can get Jang to eat in your restaurant, I'll entertain this.
Oh, yeah.
And so we were like, oh, shit, okay. So it's like...
So it was like all part of the plan.
Yeah. So they're working together now. But he has, at the end of this episode, Jang is playing Go with Kang. And he's kind of like questioning her. Like, you know, we were nervous because we were like, oh my God, does he know? Mm-hmm. And then she leaves. And then his little snitching fucking assistant walks in with photos. Showing her meeting with them, yeah. And I just have in my notes, things were going too well. Because they were. They were going too well. I knew this wouldn't. So, Gunsu, the younger brother, confronts Yisao with what she knows about Saeroyi's relationship with his family, but she doesn't tell him. And it's twice that I feel like we've seen, because the next conversation, she does tell him, but they don't show it. Mm-hmm. So here, I remember like not being sure if he knew after this scene, but it's clear, like later we find out he didn't. So remember the cooking show that Saeroyi was going to go on, but Gunwoo was there, and then it...
Yeah, I didn't know it was a cooking show.
Yeah, it was a cooking show.
I thought it was like a interview and they were go there.
I don't think they were going to be cooking, but I think it was like, they called it a cooking show. I really doubt. I don't think he was going to be cooking, but they kept calling it a cooking show. So I just thought
he can cook. We know he can.
He can. We know Gunwoo probably. He can't even look at chicken on a plate
without being sick.
No, without being traumatized. So let me ask you a question, because this just came to me. One of the things I love about K-dramas, and oh, by the way, there is an article out right now in the Washington Post, and it's like, the title's like, these black women are obsessed with K-dramas, here's why, or something like that. I was interviewed for that. The journalist is a friend of mine, and so she'd been asking, we'd been talking for weeks about, and she's a Korean American, so we've been talking about K content for weeks now. We talk about BTS, we talk about the shows we're watching. And so she was saying how a lot of the women that she knows that are really into K-drama surprisingly aren't like her Korean friends, it's all her black girlfriends. So she was like, she didn't realize how that they were the ones coming to her like, have you watched this? She's just like, no. And they're like, girl, this is so good, why aren't you watching this? And how passionate we are about it. So anyway, it's a really good article. You should read it. And one of the things I said to her about it was, and I think I've said it here, is that like, everybody matters. You may not like all the characters, but they all have a story. Like, it's just not like, sometimes shows have villains or the sexy girl, the vixen, and that's all they're meant to be, so they don't bother to make them more than that. And you'll find that you won't feel sympathy for them because they're not real people. They're just there for you to hate them or to lust after them, etc. For me, a classic example of this and how it feels like they're doing it right is the eldest son, the one who killed his father. They showed, I think, moments where you are supposed to feel sympathy for him because his father is terrible.
Yeah, and
yes.
Also when they showed him freaking out over having killed someone, and he
he wanted to do the right.
And he obviously still kind of feels guilty over it.
Yes,
traumatized over it.
And he is abused. Let's just be clear. Their father is abusive. So my Nico, no. Stop. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave that in. Sorry. So my question to you is, do you think he's gonna get redemption? Because and maybe redemption is too strong a word, but like, I feel like, again, with K-dramas, they don't just leave characters dangling. Either you're gonna get what you got coming to you, or there's gonna be some sort of redemption. Like, nobody.
I feel like it's gonna kind of be both. Like, I feel like he's gonna get what he deserves, but also he's going to kind of regret everything. So,
do you think he'll turn on his dad?
Probably.
I would.
And I feel like not for Saeroyi.
For himself.
Yeah, for himself. I feel like he wouldn't, because like, I feel like he genuinely just doesn't like the main guy, and I don't see that changing. Yeah. But yeah, he'll probably still turn on his dad.
I was just curious, like, how that could happen. Like, I know I have it in me to feel sympathy for the character, but at the same time, it's, what is Saeroyi trying to achieve here? Because, like, to bring him down and make him be held responsible for what happened to your father means that, like, it's not as simple as, like he said, Jang said, it's not as simple as you just say, nope, it was me. Like, another person went to prison for this. Like, we lied. We manipulated, like, it's a big deal. Like, it's over if this shit gets out. So it feels like what Saeroyi wants is this man's complete destruction. This just isn't about, oh, well, your son needs to say sorry, or your son needs to go to jail. Like, that's going to set off dominoes. That's going to topple.
Bring down the entire company.
Yeah. So, short of that, it's like, I don't see how Gunwoo comes out of this unscathed. But, excuse me, Gunwon. So, Jang yells at him about the cooking show because he's like, you made him think we have something to be worried about by whatever it is he did. And remember, I think the last time we talked about this, we were confused as to what happened. Like, if it was him being there that fucked it up, or did he go there on purpose? My memory is foggy. I thought he did it on, like, my thought was that Gunwon went there on purpose, but I don't. It's been a minute.
I don't think he did, because he was just a surprise to see. You said, I think at the time you said his father sent them there on purpose without telling them that Saeroyi would be there. I think that's what you said.
But so then, how did it get fucked up? I don't think they didn't show that, right?
Us, yeah, we don't know if he left on his own or if they got into an argument.
Right.
Kicked him out.
Okay. And then to make it worse, Gunwon goes in the hallway where he runs into Gunsu, and he basically gets punked by him too. Like, he hits him and everything, and he doesn't like react to it. He's just like, of course that's what you do because you're small. This is how you lash out. Basically, didn't get a rise out of him. So then we learn. This is going to be a very interesting conversation about this character. I feel like the next couple episodes. Toni, the black guy, the black Korean man, doesn't speak English. And they find it out when two white folks walk into the restaurant looking for service, and none of them can communicate with them. And then they look at Toni like, talk to your peoples. And Tony's like, I don't know what the fuck they saying. He's like, I speak Korean, and I forget what the other language is. I think he speaks another language from wherever his mother's from. Yeah. So they're like, don't tell Yisao, because she's gonna lose her shit. Which is basically the only reason she hired your black ass is because she thought you speak English. So this episode ends. Episode 7 ends with Yisao going on a bus trip with Saeroyi, and she doesn't know where they're going. But on the way there, he tells her everything about his family, everything that happened with the Jang family. And as it turns out, they went back to where they go to the cop. Yeah. The man who saved the nation from Goblin. He's also in All of Us Are Dead. I love this actor. He lives with his daughter, who I think she refers to Saeroyi as like an uncle, I think. Or maybe she just calls him Oppa. But like, you get that they're close. Like, this is a thing. And apparently he's like a farmer, or is he like canning food? But whatever it is,
that's where he gets his
his produce for the restaurant, right? From the cop, who is now a farmer. But he's pressuring the cop to come forward because I don't think we really talked about this, but they were like, here's the information on who hit your dad. This man, it's his car, and it was Osua, who was like 7777. No, that's not his car. They told the cops that they understood that that's why Saeroyi went and beat his ass at the hospital, and they did nothing with it. So again, it's like, I get what Saeroyi is saying, because he's like honorable, don't lie, but he's asking a lot of people. You asking this man to just go to prison and be separated from his daughter. Come on. I feel like,
it doesn't look like she has a mom. We don't know. We never saw her.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so I'm so shocked that's like, and I asked you, I was like, is that what he's saying? Like, and the guy was like, and then he was like, turn yourself in. Yeah, and I was like, Saeroyi.
And it's not like he did it because he wanted to.
Right.
You saw a scene of, like, I don't know if Saeroyi knows that though, but we saw a scene of his boss being like, leave this alone.
But then what is the deal with him using him for the produce though? Like, we watched this episode like 2 weeks ago, so forgive us if it's a little fuzzy, but wasn't it like, is he like getting his services like at a discount or something? I
guess so. It's probably just like the easiest way for him. He's using his connections.
Yeah, I guess. That's true. So then, the episode ends...
Wait, hold on. Speaking of connections, I really want him to talk to that guy he was with in prison again. That mafia leader. Do you remember?
Yes!
We haven't seen him at all. I hope he makes another appearance.
Because listen, not all of his issues with Jang can be able to be... handled with stock purchases and building purchases. You don't have to get violent eventually. You might have to get some muscle up in here to clock some heads. So yeah, the episode ends with us finding out that the landlord is not going to renew their lease on the building for the restaurant because he sold the building. And the new owner is like, wants the restaurant out. And it turns out the new owner is Jang. So he calls the new owner to appeal to him. How did he let Jang get out like 3 sentences without realizing it was Jang?
I don't know. People sound different over the phone.
I guess. Yes. All right. So episode 8, they find out that it's Jang in the restaurant. Like he gets off the phone. Saeroyi gets off the phone with him. And it just so happens that Osura shows up from her restaurant to borrow some ice. And they start having this conversation.
You the entire time you're like, I swear to God, if she's still there for this conversation. And I'm like, she's gonna be, because that's like why she's there. She's there for ice, but for the show's purpose, she's there for that conversation.
Yes, I understand that. But it makes me so mad. Because I'm like, if this bitch don't go home. That's why I love when Yisa was like, why is she here? I was like, yes, tuck your shit, queen.
She took that ice and threw it outside.
Yes, she's so petty. She's like, nobody gets this fucking ice.
Not even us.
No, not even us. She tainted it. I love her so much. Look, I'm setting myself up for disappointment because
you don't think
I don't think he's going to end up with her. And he needs to because she's amazing.
This is so bizarre.
She's terrible.
I don't think we've ever really watched a K-drama where it's like we don't know for sure who the main couple is. They're always very clear on who it is.
Right.
But
and maybe they don't stay together. Maybe you don't get a happily ever after because it is a K-drama. But they do make it clear that this is the couple. This is the love story you're supposed to be invested in, and it's going to go somewhere, good or bad. But here, I don't know.
I don't know.
I really don't know. Because Homegirl is persistent and crazy and a little racist and xenophobic. So I
transphobic.
Like, oh my God. Why am I rooting for her? I just want her to be better. I just want her to be a better person. So, yeah, she's hot. She loses her shit, and she's like, this is because of them. This, whatever the shit you got going on with him, and he bought our building, this is going to fuck with us, right? Osua later, she finally tells Gunwon to stop asking her out. She's like, it's not going to happen. And he's like, why? Because of Saeroyi? And she's like, no, because of his father. Mr. Park.
You killed someone very close to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's
Did
like
he
exactly
not?
why I'm like, why are you even still here, girl?
That's the thing. I think what we're supposed to think about her character, I think what they're saying is that, I don't know what they're saying. I mean, I feel like, because she has that thing where she doesn't like, she always considered herself cutthroat. Right? And that his whole thing is like, be who you are, like live your life. Like if they want to pay you and this is how you're gonna, because she was an orphan. Like, so he's like, don't fuck up those opportunities for me and my shit. Like I'm gonna get mine. I'm gonna take care of this motherfucker. It's gonna take me 15 years, but like do you. But I don't know if we're supposed to believe that that extends to her just swallowing. I couldn't do it.
I couldn't either. If I could not work for directly under, like even if it's like.
But then, if they give her a job within the company or something, you never have to see them.
Yeah. But she's like literally working with them.
Yeah.
Directly. She sees them every day.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that?
I don't know. That's why I don't. This is not the romance I want. Like I'm like so not. Like I liked her character when she was younger. But like now I'm just like, okay, I guess.
I even still liked her when it showed her like after we knew she worked for him, but she was like like when we saw her for the first time after the time skip. I'm like, okay, she's still spunky. And she looks like the girl from K.
I was like, secure that bag, sis, I guess. But now it's like, what do you do? Like, I don't know. I just leave him alone. All right, so Saeroyi goes to Jang's office to talk business, right? Because again, he bought the building. They're gonna have to move, and Jang's whole thing is again the whole I'm powerful. You don't know what real power is. This is power is getting people to do, like he said something about like, he's like, if you do this, I'll buy every building you move to. And he's like, you think that shows power? And I just keep waiting for him to plainly say, that just shows weak. Like, I got you shook, nigga. Like, everything I do, you sweating it. You reacting to everything I do, which is interesting because that's going to come up later. So he says, I will stop fucking with you if you do what I originally asked all them years ago. You get down on your knees and you apologize. And I was like, nigga, are you not paying attention? If he didn't do it then, what makes you think you really think you're going to hold this over him? His pride. He got more pride than you. And he has more reason to have pride than you do. So I don't think he would understand that. And then he basically tells him, is you stupid? I'm your enemy. He was like, I'm your enemy. This is not what we do. And as he's leaving, he tells Osuwa, my plan to make you quit will take a little bit longer. And I'm like, leave her alone. She where she want to be.
Even though it's weird, she's where she wants to be.
So Gunsu asks Yisao about his family's history with Saeroyi, and she tells him, but we don't see it, right? And then Osuwa confronts Jang about buying the building. She goes to his office, and when she starts to talk to him, he tells her, I'm
not in a good mood. So be careful with what you say.
He's like, I am having a day.
At least he was upfront about it. Right?
Yes. He's like, so think about everything you're about to say. I'd have been like, I'll come back later.
Even if I was like, hey, you want some tea? I still would have been like, you know what, never mind.
Yeah. I'd have been like, holy shit, it is lunchtime. So she basically tells him, he got you shook, son. Like, what are you doing? Like, usually everything you do is calculated. But now you're, like, acting out of emotion. Like, what do we need this building for? What are we going to do with this building? Now we own a building. And he was like, enough. And then she shut up because she was smart. Okay, so there's a really nice conversation between Gunsu and Saeroyi where he tells him, like, he knows what his family did. And he apologizes for his family.
I love him and everything he's in. I've only seen him in 2 things, but I still really love this guy.
So if you're listening to this, you've got to watch Extracurricular. You've got to. It's on Netflix. Get on it. Sophie's my bestie, and she's the one who told me I have to watch this because this is her favorite K-drama. So yeah, they talk about, I think Saeroyi tells Gunsu he wants to be someone that he can lean on because that kid doesn't have that. And then they hug. And
it's not here. I think it's like later. Yeah, well, because he's jumping ahead. He said he was going to plan on quitting.
Yes, that's coming up.
And he said you're like your little brother to me. And I was like, oh. Because I was thinking it the entire time, but they never said it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, they finally said it.
You know what? Okay, I'm just going to say this now. I've been meaning to say this for a minute, especially watching these 2 episodes. I'm so scared this kid's going to kill himself.
Oh my god. That's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were saying I'm scared he's going to die. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that happening.
That too. But I mean, I really feel, because one thing I know about this show, I heard, was that it's really good with dealing with, like, Korea's societal issues, right? And so, again, we have a trans girl, we have a black Korean who's treated like a foreigner, even though he speaks the language fluently. His father's Korean.
He is Korean.
Right. He's Korean. And then obviously the stuff with class systems and how, you know, Saeroyi himself is making a statement about people not given a fair shot and all this stuff. So I was just like, is that where they're, because it does sound silly, but I'm rooting for Yisao and Saeroyi. But the one thing that, the other hurdle I see for this relationship is the way Gunsu feels about her.
I feel like he'll probably try to kill himself, but I don't think he will actually.
Okay, I hope.
Like, I feel like that's something they'll probably do.
Because I feel like these 2 episodes in particular, and I remember, like, wanting to say something as we were watching them, but I was like, oh, I'll save it for the podcast. And then I didn't put it in my notes, but I thought about it here. Like, every time because there's a lot of, I actually skipped it in my notes because it was something I wrote down, but I didn't know if it felt like if it was worth talking about. But there was a conversation between him and Yisao where she basically was just like, no, like, it's not going to happen. But then she said something and he was like, oh, so there's a chance. And it played kind of goofy, and I was just like, no, dude, there is no chance, like, stop. But it feels like there's so many conversations like that where you just think she's gonna be different towards him, and it's nice until it's not nice, and then it's like, girl,
she was so ready to
offer his ass up when he was like, he's ready to quit, let him go.
He's gonna go to his dad and bargain for us.
But before that happens, they are racist up in the club. Listen, and I shouldn't laugh, but this is some shit that I know happens. Like, this was just all over social media a few months ago, because there are places like this in Korea where they will absolutely be like, no black foreigners, no, they specifically don't want foreigners from Africa, and I forget where he said it here. I think he said like Middle East, right? And I know that there is prejudice based off of past events. Like, I know for a fact there is a lot of American soldiers doing illegal things and fucked up things, and they're not punished the way they should be because they're Americans and they live on base and the military intervenes on, you know. And I've seen videos of it. A white American soldier, it was caught on video, just, he was upset because the elderly Korean man he was speaking to, I think he was a taxi driver or he worked like a food stall, he didn't speak English or didn't speak English well enough for the guy. And the guy was drunk, and he just started beating the shit out of this guy. There are American soldiers raping Korean girls, going out to the clubs and getting them drunk and raping them and stuff. So I know some of it is based on that, like they have a no foreigners policy, but this wasn't that.
Yeah, this was no brown people.
Right. And they were like, and the no foreigners thing they say is like, because if y'all don't know how to act, we have no recourse to punish you. So it's just, y'all are not worth it. Your business isn't worth it. But this was racism. Yeah. That other shit is xenophobia. This is racism and xenophobia. Yeah, so they tried to get in the club and they were like, no. And he's like, I'm Korean. My father's Korean. And the others, like, because it's everybody that works at Fandom, they were like all, this is fucked up, except Yisao. She was like, guess you can't come in. We'll see you tomorrow at work. I was like, why? I want to like her.
I think she was like, let's just like give up and go somewhere else. I think that's what she was saying.
Were you sure? Because I felt like it got
because
really... because he
was upset that she wasn't like sticking up for him, because he was like saying, but I am Korean, and she's like,
no, you're not.
Yeah,
right. No, she was getting really bad to the point where, remember, she says something and Saeroyi looked at her. He goes, "You've been getting on my nerves since yesterday." He was so over her shit. He was like, you know what? Come to think of it, what the fuck is your problem? Oh my god. So they end up leaving, and then later she goes, the next day she goes by that place. She sees the bar, the club that wouldn't let them in. Somebody had spray painted.
It's her and the other two.
Oh, was it the other? Okay.
Yeah, all the three of them were there.
And it says like, racist, you're an embarrassment to Korea.
And all three of them were like, hey.
They know he did it. They know Saeroyi did it. And then when she sees him later, he has like spray paint on his clothes or something.
Like they never like...
Yeah.
Like the show doesn't tell you, hey,
right.
Saeroyi did this. It's just, oh, yes,
we know he did it. We know. And I had even more respect for him. So, there's a brief exchange, like Hojin tries to get him to invest in something else. And he's like, nope, this is what we're doing. We are doing what we said we're doing. And he apologizes and he calls Kang and wants to withdraw
the money.
And we're like, oh, fuck, what the fuck. So Gunsu and Yisa talk on the roof, and he plans to quit in exchange for his dad not being the worst anymore. And she's like, yeah, okay, let's go tell the boss right now. And they go downstairs, and she's like, problem solved. He's gonna quit. And they're like, no.
I remember it was like even a bit more messed up than that, because it was like, it wasn't immediately after. It was like either the next day or sometime after. They're all just like in the restaurant, and everyone's just kind of, I don't remember exactly what's happening, but there's a conversation, and it's not related to him at all. And then she speaks up, and he's like quiet in the back.
Okay, I think they are just talking about the possibility of like having to move and all that. Yeah,
and she brings it up for him, and he's like, I wasn't ready to talk about this now, but.
And he fires her in front of everybody.
Rips off his manager tag.
He rips off her manager tag. But they both have points, though. I felt like they both have points. Because
she's like, there's like no better other, realistically, there's no other options.
Right. And it's like, if you have the ability to buy another building, nigga, you should have led with that. Right? Mm-hmm. She's your manager. These are your employees. They're all worried. You should have said, okay, this is what we're faced with, and it sucks. We're going to do it because we have to, but I can buy another. Like,
I feel like they only did that just to build tension.
Just to have them fight. Right, that's what I mean. I was like, she has points.
And then have the dramatic reveal of, I'll buy a building.
Right. So,
because I don't think, did we know that as an audience?
No, we didn't. But we knew he took the money, so it was kind of like, that's probably what he's going to do, but we didn't know. But he let them have this whole thing, and I guess he's like testing her. Like, I get it, because she was going off and she was being the worst. But again, she also had points, and she was being the worst because she's stressed the fuck out. Like, you get it. She's like, her mom kicked her out because she wants to work with him. So, like, I understand her being like, you just can't be like, oh, we'll just we'll just move. Like, it's that fucking easy. I get it. So Osua and Yisa drink together because he fires her, and she storms out, and Osua goes after her, and they go have a drink. And basically she's like, don't try to change him, sis.
That's just how he is.
That's just how he is. But then at the end she's like, and don't get it twisted. I'm helping you because I also don't want a handicap. Like, it would be easy for me to let you two have this fight and fall out or whatever. But if you think you can get him, you can get him. Like, fine. But you can't. Me. Yeah. She was like, but he likes me. And I'm like, bitch. So she ends up apologizing, but not really. First she goes to Finsu. And then at the end of it, like, where he's starting to feel like, oh, she's not so bad, and she starts to walk away, she's like, but don't be confused. I love our boss like crazy. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
She was like, I'm seriously in love with him. Don't play with me. And then she outs that club that wouldn't let Toni in on her Instagram as being a racist establishment. Mm-hmm. And she apologizes to Toni, kind of. Like, even that was like...
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how it went.
Yeah, like, I just remember she kind of apologizes to Toni, kind of. She apologizes to Toni, kind of. And she... so his deal is that... I don't know. I'm approaching this whole storyline with trepidation. As a black person. Mm-hmm. The way they have Toni act sometimes is a little, it's extra. It's a little shucking and jiving a little, just a little.
They're gonna be too jolly.
Just a little too happy. Nigga, why are you so happy?
When he stormed out, he's just like, you're mean.
Yes,
just storms out. I'm like, you can say a bit more than that. It's okay.
They're being racist. What are we doing? Like, why do you have him acting like this?
It's not grade school.
I know. I didn't like that. But okay. So if I remember correctly, his father lived with him and his mother in another country, wherever, I forget where he's from.
Yeah,
and his father had to come back for something. and then they haven't heard from him or something.
And he's there looking for him.
And he's looking for him.
That's right.
And I'm like, if we find this nigga with a whole new 가족, I'm gonna be mad.
A whole new family?
A whole new family.
Korean family?
Yes. Yes.
Oh my god, that's gonna be terrible.
And I'm like, I'm just trusting.
2 little Korean kids.
I'm gonna be mad. So, because that whole shit just sounded fishy. I was like, what you mean he came and then you didn't hear from him no more? And then you just came here looking for him?
It better just be something like he'd been kidnapped by the mafia.
He better be in jail. He need to be dead or in jail. Otherwise, this feels fishy. So she's like, I'm gonna help you find your dad. And I'm like, please don't.
They could unearth some problems.
This is gonna be way more dramatic than I need with his storyline. So he buys a new building, and it's like going well and shit. And he's in there shook. That's his new name, Jang Shook. He is so fucking mad. He's just sitting at his desk, like literally
Steam coming out of his ears.
And I'm like, that's what you get. Because you know, he's like, where does nigga keep getting money? Oh, you know, he's so confused by this. But Miss Kong tells Saeroyi she's still on his side. And I'm just scared she's going to end up dead.
Because they know. It's just a matter of when.
She comes to work every day, and then he's like, because remember he had that conversation. Oh, that's one thing we haven't talked about. So apparently, he started this business in the very, very early stages, like whatever he was, I don't know, making plates out of his kitchen, selling, I don't know, jars of kimchi to the neighbors. It was a small business. He started with her father.
That's right.
And then her father died. And so it's kind of like he treats her like a daughter, and he's bringing her along.
It's just exactly like with Osula.
Right. I don't know. Did he kill her father?
And does she know? Like,
I don't know.
Why do these women keep working for him?
I don't know.
Like,
it really feels like everybody that works for him that's close to him they don't really like him and could have ulterior, like, you would understand why Osua and her might have ulterior motives. The son is just in fear.
We already know Kong definitely has ulterior motives.
Right, but we don't know what's at the heart of it. Is it just like, professional drive and greed, or because I mean, it seems clear that even though his son is terrible at it, he's prepared to leave this to his son. And I would be really fucking pissed if I'm competent and I've been working for you for years and years and years, and you're just gonna leave it to him because that's what you got when your wife got pregnant. She spit out
what you were left with.
Yeah. That's fuck. Now I gotta work for this guy. Fuck that. Like, yeah, I could try to take the company too if I could. But yeah. So the thing that happens at the end here is Saeroyi is having a conversation with Osua, and she's asking him about Yisao. And just as he's telling her, I can't imagine Thumb without her. She is strutting into a meeting with Jang because, and this was foreshadowed so many times because I said it to you, he keeps fucking telling this man where his strength is. The people. And I'm like, he's going, and he keeps trying to fuck with you other ways, like with the money. And you keep showing him that this don't bother you. It's the people. Mm-hmm. He already has a way to fuck with you with Gunsu, because that's his son. And now he has her in the meeting. He already has a way to fuck with you with Osua, because she works for him, and you love her. Mm-hmm. Right? And I'm just so scared he's going to fuck with the other two somehow. We know she's trans.
Yeah.
If he knows that or finds that out somehow, and you know, and the other guy is also an ex-felon, ex-convict. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I just feel like he's going to come after all of them. I hope Yisao doesn't want her mouth. I
mean, I feel like this is probably one of those misleading things where like they end the episode like that, and the next episode she's there on her own will, and she just like, I don't know. I feel like it's not going to turn out as
I mean, I hope she doesn't
dramatic as we think.
Yeah. I hope not. I feel like this is more a misdirect than it's anything bad, but it does lead me to think that if he wanted it to be, this could be bad. Like, again, I don't know, because she's so blunt. I don't want her saying anything innocently that he can use about the people. Now that he's decided he's going to fuck with the people, I
hope she makes him upset as Saeroyi makes him upset. Like, I just hope she just...
He's just gonna fuck around.
She gets on his nerves.
He got a heart attack with these millennials, these Gen Zs. Yes, they're stressing him out. So that's it. That is the end of those 2 episodes. I'm super excited to dive into the next 2. Thank you guys for listening. As always, if you're listening to this for the first time, that means you're a time traveler, so you are a week ahead. Thank you very much. Everybody else, premium, still love you. Thank you for subscribing. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. We have the finale of Sandman. We have more House of the Dragon coming up next week, more She-Hulk, and I am starting Severance. That's it. I can never remember the name of the show because I always want to say Succession, which is a show I have no interest in watching. But it's called Severance. That begins next week. And of course, me, Donnie, and Kaylee are continuing Extraordinary Attorney Woo 2 episodes at a time. So, yeah. Oh, you know what comes back next month? So we have to do that finale podcast and get on it. Spy Family!
Oh my god, really?
Yes! The dog! I'm so excited.
Oh my god, time to live.
They just dropped a new trailer today. I haven't watched it yet. So, yeah, so that's coming up. Oh, and also, later this month, me, John, and Kaylee are starting Ranking of Kings. Ooh, yay! So, yeah, we're doing it like arcs at a, like...
And John hasn't seen any of it, right?
He hasn't seen anything.
So we've seen one of him.
Yeah. So, this is going to be really awesome.
I just remembered... the last thing we saw.
It's crazy. I'm excited. I know. Yes. It's good. So if you haven't checked it out, you might want to check that out with us. Again, it's an anime called Ranking of Kings. Came highly recommended, especially by quite a few patrons, including Joshua. Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you next time.